By the end of this lecture, learners will be able to define the meaning of assessment in education, describe the characteristics of assessment in education, identify the main purposes of assessment, list the benefits and principles of assessment in education, recognize the techniques of classroom assessment. Hello everybody, and welcome to the UNIV-ENGLISH channel. For more information, you are invited to visit my website, english.mokerma.com. So, what does assessment mean for you? In the field of education, assessment has a variety of meanings and purposes. One way to think about assessment is as a process that allows educators to make decisions about what students know and can do and what they need to learn next. Assessment also includes measures used to determine how well schools are performing. Assessment is a process by which educators and practitioners determine the skills and knowledge of students in order to make informed decisions about their instruction. Assessment can be done formally or informally. Whether used to measure the progress of individual students or groups of students, assessment is an essential part of educating individuals. Defining assessment. Assessment is the process of systematically measuring the knowledge, skills, and abilities of individuals or groups. Assessment can be done in a variety of ways, including performance assessment, personality assessment, intelligence assessment, and health assessment. Assessment plays an important role in ensuring that students are meeting the standards set by their schools and that employees are performing at their best. Assessment can be used to determine the effectiveness of a school or an employee in one or more areas such as teachers, students, and management. The purpose of assessment is to collect data that will improve instruction and performance. What is assessment in the education field? Assessment in the education field can be defined as the process of gathering information about a student's strengths and weaknesses in order to make decisions about his or her instruction to measure the attainment of educational objectives. It is a systematic way to evaluate and judge students' or teachers' achievements and progress. The term assessment comes from the Latin verb assidere, meaning to sit with. This word origin implies that in assessment the teacher sits with the learner, and assessment is something teachers do with and for students rather than to students. Green, 1998. According to Harlan, Gibbs, Broadfoot, Nuttall, 1992, assessment in education is the process of gathering, interpreting, recording, and using information about pupils' responses to an educational task. Assessment has many definitions, but can generally be summed up as the measurement of learning. It includes both formative and summative assessments, which are used for different purposes. Why do we assess? In any field of study, it is important to assess the work that has been done in order to understand its strengths and weaknesses. This is especially true in the social sciences, where assessment can help researchers understand how best to approach a problem and determine the effectiveness of a given intervention. Assessment can also identify gaps in our knowledge so that new research can be undertaken. Teachers tend 1. To improve students' understanding of the subject matter by using assessment. It is necessary to check whether a student has understood the lesson, and can answer questions on the topic at hand. 2. To inform the teacher whether the lesson was successful. The more a teacher knows about their students, the better they can teach. 3. To prove that the teacher is teaching students what they need to learn. Teachers can use assessment to prove that their students have learned the material, and will be able to apply it in their life. 4. To monitor how well students understand the material. What do we assess? Every educator faces the task of assessing their students. What does this mean? What should be assessed? The answer to these questions is not always clear, but it is important. Assessment can help educators understand how well their students are learning, where they need help, and what they are doing well. Assessment can also help educators set goals for their students and track their progress over time. There are many different types of assessments, and each has its own strengths and weaknesses. Educators must decide which assessments are best suited for their students and curriculum. Generally, all teachers assess learning and evaluate the results in terms of some set of criteria. Why is it important to assess? When it comes to assessment, there are many important factors to consider. Here are the most important. 1. It allows educators to identify what students know and do not know. 2. What skills do they need to develop in order to support learners? 3. Assessment provides feedback that can help educators improve their teaching practices. 4. Adapt assessment strategies to align with learners' needs. The main purposes of assessment. Assessment refers to the systematic process of collecting, analyzing, and using information to make decisions about students, programs, and services. It is an important part of teaching and learning and is used in both instruction and evaluation. Assessment has many purposes in the field of education. It supports the following purposes. Assessment is used to determine if students are learning by comparing their performance on tests or assignments over time. Assessment provides information about students' progress in meeting learning objectives, and whether or not they need additional instructional support. Assessment provides information about students' strengths and weaknesses and diagnoses a student's learning difficulties and recommends interventions. Assessment provides information that can be used to improve student learning. Assessment provides information that can be used to improve program effectiveness. Principles of assessment. Assessment is an important part of the teaching learning process. It provides a way for teachers to measure how well students are understanding the material they are teaching. Assessment can also help teachers identify which students need more help and what areas they need to focus on. Teachers should use a variety of assessment methods following learners' individual needs to get a well-rounded view of their students' abilities. Thus, they should use a variety of assessment tools including tests, quizzes, essays, projects, and portfolios. These assessments practices provide information about a student's knowledge of specific subject areas. They serve to demonstrate the level of knowledge learners have acquired in a particular area. Techniques of classroom assessment. Generally, teachers use assessment techniques to measure what students have learned in the classroom. These techniques and strategies can be formal or informal. Formal assessment practices usually involve a written test or quiz, while informal assessment techniques usually involve a teacher's observations of a student's work or conversations with students. Teachers use assessment techniques to help them determine which learners need extra help and which students are ready to move on to the next level. A teacher's success in the classroom often depends on their ability to assess their students and find new and innovative ways to engage them. Here are some techniques of classroom assessment that can help any teacher become more successful in the classroom. Assessing learners' prior knowledge and understanding. In order for a teacher to effectively assess their students' prior knowledge and understanding of the material they are about to present, they must ask probing questions. This helps the teacher to tailor their instruction to meet the student's needs. Additionally, it is important for teachers to be aware of their students' misconceptions so that they can address these during instruction. By taking into account both prior knowledge and student understanding, teachers can help ensure that all students are able to learn successfully. Assessing learners' skills and creative thinking. In order to assess how well a student is learning, educators need to be able to measure students' skills and creative thinking. A recent study has shown that there is a significant correlation between the two. The study found that students who are more skilled in critical thinking and problem solving are also more creative. Assessing learners' performance and application. The ability to assess the performance of students and their ability to apply newly learned skills is critical for instructors. In order to create an effective learning environment, instructors need to be able to monitor student progress and identify areas in which students need assistance. The use of assessment tools can help instructors tailor instruction to meet the needs of individual students. Additionally, assessment can help instructors measure the effectiveness of their teaching methods and identify any changes that may need to be made. Assessing learners' analysis skills. Assessing learners' analysis skills can be tricky, as there is no one-size-fits-all approach. However, there are some strategies that teachers can use to help them get a sense of their students' analysis abilities. Analysis skills involve breaking down a problem into smaller parts and identifying the relationships between those parts. One strategy is to give students a word problem and have them work on it individually or in small groups. Conclusion. Assessment is an important part of the teaching and learning process. It can help teachers identify areas where students need help, and it can support students understanding their strengths and weaknesses and track their progress over time. It is also a valuable tool for measuring the effectiveness of a teacher or a school. Teachers should use a variety of assessments to get a complete picture of their students' abilities. Assessment should be ongoing and should help teachers to modify their instruction to meet the needs of their students. There are many different types of assessment, so it is important to find the right one for your needs. Always keep in mind the goal of assessment is to help students learn and acquire new skills to align with the curriculum's objectives.